what is the opposite of fear? What could balance the fear in terms of emotional states?
I don't know that I would really say that there is an opposite to fear. Fear is such a
Mm-hmm.
unique emotion in and of itself. I mean, like, fear is on a continuum
Mm-hmm.
where you could have extreme, debilitating fear and no fear. But if you have no fear, that just means that the other emotions can then pick up, fill the void. So it could be any
Mm.
of the other emotions, right? So there's not like you can say there's fear at this end and I don't know, joy. I
Yeah.
don't, it doesn't really work that way. You can have the
Mm.
absence of fear, but then that just means other emotions are free to express themselves.
Hello, my name is Aziza Abdieva, and today we are going to talk about fear. My whole exhibition is surrounded around fear, the theme around fear, and I just wanted to understand deeper fear, study it, deconstruct it. And to do that, I have wonderful scientist next to me, Lynn White. She's from Southern Utah University, teaches psychology. Her studies in physiological comparative psychology. Did I say it right?
Yeah, no, that's good. Physiological comparative psychology. Yeah.
Awesome. When we talk about physiological comparative psychology, how deep does that field goes into the theme of fear?
Very.
Very deeply.
There are people who study fear at a neural level.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll study neurotransmitters in fear, or they'll study EEG, electrical activity across the surface of the brain, and how that correlates with fear. So they can get pretty specific. And if they're working with animals, they can study structures, they can manipulate brain structures to see what effect or impact that has on the fear response. So
Awesome. When you talk about animals, and I know you mentioned that before, that oftentimes you guys make connections between the animal kingdom, right? And how they react to certain things and relates that to the human condition. Is that, am I understanding it right?
Yeah. So, for example, there have been studies where they destroyed a part of the brain in rats called the amygdala. And they showed that these rats lose their sense of fear. They'll walk right in front of a cat
Wow.
and, no hesitation. They don't show any kind of inhibitory behavior where it's like, okay, I don't know how this person's going to react, so I'm just going to go away in the corner. They'll just go up to a stranger, human or another rat. Like, they just lose their sense of fear.
They have no fear at all.
They don't.
Okay.
And we actually see that in humans as well. Like, we see that the amygdala is an important structure for fear. And I remember watching a set of videos once where the military was trying to figure out how they could teach or train, in a way, train the amygdala in soldiers not to respond to presentations of fear, like fearful stimuli. So our amygdala works in a lot of the same way that the amygdala works in rats when it comes to fear.
Interesting. So tell me, this amygdala thing, where does it locate in the body?
It's in the brain, and it's in a very primitive part of the brain called the limbic system.
Yeah. A limbic?
Limbic. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. So when within our brain, amygdala gets fired up, and then we react with fear.
Well, it depends. So when we're confronted with a stimulus, that information goes rapidly to the amygdala. If it's a strong enough stimulus, the amygdala will respond with, like, you could say, a threat assessment. Is this anything I need to be concerned about? And if there's no concern, then we don't respond with fear. It's just another, a bottle on the table or whatever.
Right? Yeah.
But if the amygdala responds with a very, very intense response to threat, it actually will inhibit higher parts of our brain, the parts of our brain where we use like a lot of our thinking and reasoning and planning. That part of the brain is called the frontal lobe. And that part gets inhibited so that the amygdala can cause a very rapid, almost reflex response. So if you've ever seen somebody, we have the expression jump out of your skin,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So it will initiate that kind of response. All right. And that's like a life-saving response. We have to respond right away to that very intense stimulus that the amygdala has deemed a threat. And then once we have that initial response, then the inhibition to the higher parts of the brain where we do all of our thinking and reasoning and rationalization and everything, that is allowed now to respond. But initially we inhibit it because we need to make that very, very fast response.
Interesting. So what it feels like, amygdala is an essential part when confronting with fear, seeing the fear, understanding the fear, and reacting to fear. Is that...
Well, I mean, it's not just the amygdala though, because then there's other,
The
you know, when you're afraid, your
Mhm.
heart starts to pound, your
Right.
hands might shake,
This whole
you know,
bodily reaction.
yeah, the blood drains from your face, you know,
Yeah.
pale like a ghost. So that is initiated by a different structure that communicates with the amygdala
Okay.
called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is going to trigger those bodily responses. So the amygdala does that threat assessment, and the hypothalamus responds with physiological changes in our body.
So how long do you think it takes for amygdala to do that threat assessment?
Oh, well, I've never seen an official timestamp, but I would think, you know, a second, maybe less. I mean, it can be, if you've ever been startled, you know that like if it's between the time that you see or hear the stimulus, like if somebody honks at you, you know, right behind you, you didn't know. And then, yes, it's almost like an instantaneous response.
Yeah.
So that has to be super, super quick.
That's really good stuff. So you mentioned about having that amygdala trained by military soldiers, so soldiers wouldn't experience to fears, wouldn't react to fears a lot, right? How does it even happens? How does it even possible? Is it even possible to train your amygdala?
Well, I say train your amygdala. So the amygdala, I guess, does in some ways have memory,
it's like a muscle.
Yeah, but what they do is they expose them to repeated stimulation, like where it's sudden, intense stimuli. They have to make snap decisions. They have to learn to suppress like their instinctual response, which for most people would be fear. If all of a sudden, like, you know, you're walking down the street and somebody points a gun at your face, we're going to have an instantaneous fear response. But they train the soldiers not to have that response. So they do it over and over and over and over again. So they're trying to
the body get used
desensitize.
To it. Yeah.
Now there may be other techniques that they're using, and I don't know.
They probably didn't disclose it. I see. Interesting. How do you see that in daily life? Is it like a normal person? For normal person, is it possible to train themselves to be less fearful?
Actually, funny story.
Yeah.
When my two boys were growing up, we always tried to scare them. It didn't even have to be Halloween. We would close the lights and, you know, hide behind doors. And I mean, you know, anyways. I know, I have terrible parents. But then we started doing these Halloween haunts with them and everything. And more recently, my eldest son, he's 26 now, but he used to live in Florida not long ago, and he went to the Universal Studios, and it was like the Halloween Fright Night. And he said, "Mom, you ruined it for me." Nothing scared me, you know, because he just grew up and he became so habituated to those kinds of fear stimuli, it didn't bother him. So So I think, yeah, the average person can become less sensitive to fearful stimuli, but I don't know. I don't know if you would want to, right? Because, well, for two reasons. One, being afraid in a safe environment is super fun. It's just fun, right? When you know that you're safe. That's why so many people gravitate to these theme parks,
Yeah.
right?
Hunting houses. And
Mhm. But
by the way, you threw such a great hunting
oh, good. Yes. Well, we've had a little bit of
house party.
practice.
Yeah.
But the other reason why we don't want to totally desensitize ourselves is because fear is a life-saving response, right? If we did not have, or animals in general, if we did not have a fear response, we would be like those rats running in front of cats and be eaten up and destroyed, right? So fear has really served an important purpose in the evolution of our species and every species on the planet. So fear is healthy in the right amount at the right time.
Let's try to now take fear apart. What does it consist of?
Well, it's an emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and different theories have been proposed over the decades about what exactly fear is. But from an emotional standpoint, one of the earliest theories that said that fear, like any emotion, would be dictated by what's happening inside physiologically. So fear would have one set of physiological responses. Happiness would have an entirely different set of physiological responses. The only problem with that theory is that that's not true. There are some subtle differences between different emotions and our physiological reactions, for sure, but not to the extent that that theory proposed. But a more modern theory says that what happens is when we're in a situation where we perceive a threat, like either to our safety, our well-being, our life, we use the environment and the context around us to make a decision. What's going on here? And based on our perception of the situation, we begin to feel an emotion, and the physiological reactions just serve to intensify that emotion. So emotion, according to this theory, comes from perception of the situation, and that perception is made more intense by the physiological reactions. So that's one of the more modern theories, but I've already described that more biological theory that talks about the amygdala responding first, not letting your perception take hold, right? According to that theory, we aren't able to think about what this all means if it's an intense stressor, a threatening situation. We're not able to make that perceptual response until we have had that physiological reaction that supposedly saves our lives. And then that frees up the other parts of the brain to ask, okay, what's really going on here? So it's not that those two theories are incompatible with each other. One just focuses a little bit more on the time course, like the biological theory talks about how that physiological response has to happen first, and then perception, whereas the more modern, less physiological theory basically says that we're going to perceive the situation, we're going to understand it, we're going to make sense of it first, and then whatever physiological reactions happen, that's just going to intensify our emotion.
Interesting. So it's almost both of those theories, they're reversed. One is affected by the body, and the second is affected by your perception.
Well, the second, the one that you mentioned second, puts a heavier emphasis on early perception.
Early perception.
But both are important to both theories. It's just that second one that you just mentioned, they focus on perception first and then the intensification through physiological responses. But perception and physiological responses are almost instantaneous. So we're not talking about minutes here. We're talking about seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that exact? You say almost instantaneous. They're synced almost, right?
Well, yeah. So it's not like we're going to have a physiological reaction and then minutes or hours later, we're going to say, "No, really, what was that all about?" We have to be able to make sense out of what's going on in order to determine what's the best course of action here, right? If it took you too long, like you could be you can have the physiological response, but if it took you too long to figure out what's going on in this environment, then that could jeopardize your well-being. You need to know, should I take door A or door B?
Should I run or should I
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it feels like a balance, what is happening within your body and what is happening inside your brain. Okay. Balance. I love that everything ends up with the balance.
Yes. Yes. That's everything in homeostasis.
Yeah. So, speaking of balance, what is the opposite of fear? What could balance the fear in terms of emotional states?
I don't know that I would really say that there is an opposite to fear. Fear is such a unique emotion in and of itself. I mean, fear is on a continuum where you could have extreme, debilitating fear and no fear. But if you have no fear, that just means that the other emotions can then pick up, fill the void. So it could be any of the other emotions, right? So there's not like you can say there's fear at this end and I don't know, joy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work that way. You can have the absence of fear, but then that just means other emotions are free to express themselves.
I like how you say it, fill the void. That was really poetic.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Because it really feels like that. We are given all of these emotions, and we suppress certain types of emotions. Other emotions become more intensified. And it goes to balancing again from what it feels like. And so what I'm hearing,
now you're sounding like a psychologist.
I'm married to one.
What I'm hearing you say is that's good. It's a compliment.
Yeah. Well, we talk about this kind of stuff a lot with Josh, so I picked up some of the philosophizing everything and talking about it in that form. Hold on. So it's interesting that there is no opposite to any emotion then, in your sense?
Well, I mean, it might be an artificial way of classifying emotions because we have some people talk about, sadness at one end and joy or happiness at the other, but I don't see it that way because an absence of sadness doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be very happy or joyful.
Yeah.
So it really isn't like a extremely positive fly. He has no fear.
No, not sober.
But it's like it's like okay, hold on. They have an instinct. Oh, I moved too fast. But even flies have an instinctual fear response.
Yeah.
Right? Like they know what they know. You can't say that they know, but they respond when they feel like there's a threat.
Yeah, like pressure coming up.
Yeah. But going back to what we were saying, if you look at the six, well, they call them the six universal emotions, right? So these are emotions that don't seem to differ by culture, by race, by ethnicity. And we think that, at least in some rudimentary form, they might be present at birth. And that's anger, fear, sadness, disgust, joy, and surprise. And any one of those can be felt in the extreme. But if that emotion is absent, okay, so it's on a continuum, and if it goes down to 0, there's no saying what emotion then will be picked up at this other end. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not like you can say that, well, we go from sadness to joy, or anger to happiness.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's
Then how do you manage each emotion if you don't do antidote for that emotion? I'm like thinking about it in terms of like giving a medicine for that emotion. Like in terms of a medicine for that emotion. For instance, if you are fearful, you're afraid. You're afraid to say something to your lover, or you are afraid before the big presentation, or you're afraid to show up in the world the way you wanted to because of everything, circumstances, right? And like, how do you give medicine to your fear so you could take the fear, work with it, and...
Well, okay, so fear generally has an identifiable source, right? So anxiety and fear are often confused because people think they're one and the same, but anxiety generally is not associated with something as specific as fear. So there are people who have fear, for example, of public speaking. And what we need to do is desensitize them. So it means getting lots and lots of practice. But it also means that when you begin to feel that fear that you have of public speaking, you're walking on the stage or whatever, you have to change your perception. And it's not just your perception of what's going on in front of you, but even inside of you. So when you feel your heart racing, you have a choice. You can interpret that as fear. Oh my gosh, they're all looking at me. Well, they're supposed to, because I have this way of giving a presentation. But you can say, oh, my heart is beating fast. I am so stoked and excited. So those are different messages that you're telling yourself, and your brain is going to respond to your personal perceptions of the room and how you feel. So if you tell yourself, I am super excited, that fear, that's one way you can get the fear to subside. I tell my students, because all my students are really petrified to go up and give a presentation, and I tell them, smile. It's very hard to be afraid when you're smiling.
Again, the bodily, how the body reacts.
Yeah.
So if we are physically letting ourselves smile, then our brain perceives it, takes it, and being like, okay, she's smiling. Maybe it's not as bad.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, so one of the things I do is I teach progressive muscle relaxation.
Yeah.
And that involves tensing and relaxing different muscle groups one at a time.
You have a guest.
We do have a guest. In progressive muscle relaxation, it's important that you don't tense for very long. In fact, you relax at least 3 times as long as you contract. And I explain it's because when you're doing this, you're sending messages to your brain. Oh, I must be tense. I must be stressed.
Yeah.
And we don't want to give that kind of message to our brain. We're going to relax and tell our brain that everything is fine, but we still want to learn what muscle tension feels like. Yeah.
And then, oh man, I love that. It's like tensing so hard.
Yeah.
Relax. It feels refreshing, like it feels resetting almost.
Yeah. Well, and we have them do different intensities. So 100%, 50%, so they can begin to learn
where you
early
are.
signs
Maybe
of
you're
muscle
tense
tension.
all the time. You're like walking like this, and your neck is like this, and you're
Yeah.
like, why am I so tense? Because you're tense. Just like relax.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. And this is like an exercise you can do on a daily basis.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Just tense and relax.
Yeah, yeah.
That's lovely.
So that's actually how you can make somebody more afraid. Make them cold.
Make them cold.
Yeah, because then they're sending, if they're cold, and because you tend to tense up when you're cold.
Yeah.
And that's a way to prime the brain into like a stress response. So,
oh wow.
Yes, little tricks I picked up along the way.
Yeah, I'm kidding. That's how you sound like you know how the body works and what you can do with the body, so make it afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't get over the fact that there is no opposite of fear. Fear is just fear, and you know, from what I'm understanding, you know, the way to work with fear is changing your perception and making sure your body is all right.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we can talk about positive and negatively valenced emotions. Like generally speaking, people would put fear as like a negatively valenced. That means like most people find this to be adversive or unpleasant and undesirable. They want to escape it. Those are negatively valenced.
Yeah.
So we would put fear on that side along with anger and sadness, distrust, anxiety. All of that would be negatively valenced. And then you have positively valenced. And then those would be things like joy and amusement and happiness. And, you know, so I'm having trouble coming up with positive. Now it's all negative. But, you know, so in that sense, you can talk about shifting along a continuum, you know, from negative to positive. But like I said, I don't believe you can say that there is a mirror opposite to fear.
Okay. There is just absence of fear.
Absence of fear.
What is the absence of fear then? On a physiological level?
Well, there would be no stress hormones.
No stress hormones, okay.
Well, I mean, there are always going to be some stress hormones. You have to live. So, but I mean, those would not be at an elevated level. If we had no fear, those stress hormones, particularly cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, those would be at low levels. By the way, depending on what country you're from, you'll either say epinephrine and norepinephrine, or you'll say adrenaline, noradrenaline. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, adrenaline is more like, sounds like I know what it is.
Okay. So those would be at lower levels. Although, you know, you can be extremely happy and have high levels of adrenaline too.
Be like hyped up, you know.
Yeah. So it's a complicated situation, but basically your nervous system, the part of your nervous system that, have you ever heard of the term flight or fight?
Yes.
Okay, so that's like your stress response. Okay, and that's activated when we're fearful. So that's nice and calm, and you don't have the perception of threat. So it's a combination of no threat, being calm, but again, you can be happy and excited and have those stress hormones, but there's no threat.
No threat. Threat is the big thing then.
Threat is a big thing.
How long the fear can live in the body?
Well, it should live our entire lives in the body.
Entire lives?
Like we should be capable of experiencing a fear response until the very end. Well, I hope not at the very end. That would be nice if we did not have any fear at the very end.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Just like
pass out. Yes. I plan on doing that in my sleep. So, but fear is something that is good to have at the right time. Now, if somebody were in a constant state of fear, you know, day in, day out, I mean, that reaches a level of extreme concern because, you know, that's going to have a negative impact on their health.
How can we know that we are not fearful anymore?
That you have no fear response, or that you have no fear to a certain stimulus? Like, is
So, for instance, if again, the public speaking, right? Like, I mean, I think you would know you're not afraid of speaking when you start speaking, or I don't know. How do you know when you're not afraid anymore and you can be like free?
Right. Well, you recognize when you're afraid, right?
Yeah.
So if you recognize when you're afraid, you should, in theory, be able to recognize when that's not present. So you're making a conscious interpretation of your emotions, and you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm excited now. I'm not afraid."
Conscious interpretation. I'm like, the reason I'm asking it, because so many time we are conditioned to fear, and sometimes we just act because we used to be afraid and we act a certain way. But when can we understand we are not afraid of it anymore and we can act differently? That requires conscious conversation with yourself, right?
Yeah. Like, okay, so I have a story.
Yeah.
I used to be so afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing, because where I grew up in Quebec, there were lots of spiders.
Wow.
And I got really good. In fact, I could just walk into a room and catch something in my peripheral vision, and it would be a spider coming down. I could see it right away. I had like a spider detector in me. But anyways, very afraid of spiders. And then I started doing experiments with my statistics students. Like, they needed to collect data in order to learn how to analyze it. And one of the options was exposure to a fearful stimulus. So what did I do? I went out and I bought tarantula, Mexican rose hair tarantula, named Hairy Legs McGillicuddy.
Wow.
My boys named him. Anyways, so Hairy Legs McGillicuddy sat on my desk along with a colony of cockroaches, which I also did not like.
Colony of
But
cockroaches.
I had those in my office for years.
Oh.
And at first, I was a little freaked out. I mean, it was okay because I knew that they were in cages and stuff like that. But by the end, I ended up trading my, the cockroaches died.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't get a new batch of cockroaches. They inbreed, and eventually they weaken. And but anyways, so they died. And then I got kind of bored with my spider, and I ended up buying but trading it for a snake. But I'm not afraid of snakes. I grew up with snakes, so I'm not afraid of snakes. But the point is that after years of having Hairy Legs McGillicuddy beside me on my desk, I'm no longer afraid of spiders. In fact, I have a spider beside my kitchen sink, and I won't kill it because I can't. He just lives there. And sometimes I
tap it.
give it a little like tickle here. But I've totally changed my perception of spiders. Now, I mean, like, I suppose if one landed on me, like, I probably would start on go like, because I never know like what,
type of spider
what type of but I see a spider, I don't kill it, I don't have a reaction to it, and I know, like, so I am no longer afraid of spiders. I have come to that conscious.
You look at it and you're calm. Your calmness is an indication of no fearness.
And what I'm thinking.
Also, it really tells me that for you to overcome the fear, you gotta look at it in the eye. You gotta look at it and be present with it and be okay. Is that what it is?
Well, I think, ultimately that's the outcome we want. If you're trying to desensitize yourself to a particular stimulus, we want you to get to the point where you can look at it and you're fine with it, and you don't have a physiological reaction. It's just
a spider.
Yeah.
Interesting. So instead of, it really tells me a lot about, like, how we have these fears and we try to stay away from them and, like, run away from them, you know. And at the end of the day, you gotta face your fears to be not afraid anymore.
But depending on how intense the fear is, it might not be something that you want to do on your own.
You're right.
You know, because we want to make sure it's done in a safe
environment.
Yeah.
I think that's like a key.
Yeah. Well, and you know, most fears are not at that level. But if somebody is deathly afraid of something, we're not going to, you know, put them in a room with that one particular thing and say, okay, figure it out. So there are ways of approaching it. So if somebody has that debilitating fear, I would recommend, you know, some professional intervention to help them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean is like more you know, day-to-day thing. Like for me, one of my biggest fears was, you know, expressing my voice, talking to the camera, speaking to people, asking them questions, you know, like and doing this journey every day. I'm doing it every day, recording it, you know. I feel like I'm less fearful of doing it, and I'm, you know, actually taking that as my power every day, meeting my fear, and you know, it's changing me how I share my voice, how I speak. And really the camera is like a story with the spider. I look at it and I'm okay with it, so it doesn't scare me anymore.
I don't see any. You're smiling, so you can't be that afraid. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Lynn.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Now be careful driving down. You never know what's out there.